Hey everybody, it's Jake here with the DIA guys, and I wanted to shoot an update video for the previous video I did about 2 months ago on this Casio Pathfinder watch, this Casio Pro Trek Pathfinder watch, and I've been using it, pretty much every day for 2 months or so since I got it, since I showed it to you guys. And I have to say, I do like the watch quite a bit. It's turned out to be a really good watch so far. I like the features of it. It works well for me, and it's holding up well. Of course, it's only 2 months old. I've taken the watch off when I have been in situations where I'm going to be working on a car, and I'm going to probably knock it against things so it won't get damaged too much. So overall it's in pretty good condition, the case and everything. You can see up here where there's some wear on the black areas of the dial where I have dinged it up against some things as I've been using it. But overall, it's the watch is holding up really well. I'd like to point some things out here on the front. As you can see, so this watch is solar powered, and this right here shows you the battery capacity, or not capacity, but how much life is in the battery, how much charge is in the battery. And so you can see that black bar is over top of the H. So that means the battery's at high capacity. If it was over the M, it would be at medium. If it was over the L, it'd be at low. And so I wore this watch when I first got it. It was on medium, and I wore it out one day, probably 30 minutes, doing some walking during lunch and at work. And the battery was basically fully charged, and it's never gone off of fully charged for me. So the battery life on this watch is excellent. I've not had any issue with it. Now this right down here, it does have this cool feature. So that PS is a power save feature, and at night, sometimes I'll take the watch off and put it on the nightstand or something like that, and the watch face will actually go blank. It'll turn itself off to save battery life. So that's kind of neat feature as well. Over here, you'll see that there's this thing called auto. What that is the auto back illuminescence. So kind of like on your iPhone, like raise to wake, I think is what it's called. Or when you pick the phone up, it will kind of come to life, and the backlight will come on. Well, this will do the same thing, and it works pretty well. But overall, I don't think it's too much of a hassle just to hit the light button here. One thing that's also cool about the light is that it's adjustable. So the time is adjustable. So right now I've got it set for its maximum luminescence time, which I felt like was necessary. The way it was set up from the factory was nowhere near enough time. So what I found about the watch is, it's got a ton of features to it. And, the manual that I showed earlier is thick. I mean, it's a huge manual. But I'd say maybe only probably a quarter, maybe even less than a quarter of it is dedicated to how to use the watch, because there are multiple languages in there. So it's not quite as daunting as you would think. And the way that you modify things within the menus is pretty consistent. So this adjust button, when you're in any menu, you basically push this and hold it down, and then that gives you the ability to go into adjustment mode. So you could change your alarm time, or change your timer time, or change your city, or change the moon phase, or change high tide time, and all those kind of things. So if you get this watch, you're really going to want to take the time to go through and set it up, because it took me a little while to go through and set this watch up. I first went through and set up I like 24-hour time, so I did that here. The date, set the date, and then I set the moon phase, and then based off my location, I set when high tide is, so that I could tell what the tide's doing. And I'll show the tide feature here in just a little bit. I went through and did all my preferences in terms of how long the light stays on, whether or not I want power save function to be on, the auto luminescence feature to be on, whether or not this so right here it says receiving indicator. That's where it pulls the atomic time. And I've never had an issue with the watch being on time. It's always, even with the time changed, it changed itself. When we went to daylight, we turned our clocks back. I didn't have any issue with that as well. It took care of that all by itself. So, it is a lot to set up and a lot to go through. But overall, I like the watch quite a bit, and I will definitely continue to wear it, continue to use it, maybe give you some more feedback as I continue to use the watch. So, I've not really used the compass, barometer, and altimeter features a tremendous amount on the watch, but I'll talk about them here in just a little bit as I go through my review. But this bezel on the watch does turn, it does spin, and so that's part of when you're using the compass feature, being able to orient yourself to which way is north, and then being able to see which way your heading is. So I've shown the light feature. So here's the mode feature. So this is the main screen, and so I've talked about some of the things. So it's the time, the date, the day of the week, and this is the moon condition. So basically the light shaded area is what you see in the moon, and the dark shaded area is what you don't see in the moon. And that's kind of how that works and what it looks like. So I'll go through the modes here. So this is the tide graph, and basically this is telling you, one other thing I forgot to talk about too is over here on the home screen, you saw this graph over here, and this graph is basically the pressure history for the readings that it's taking, so you can kind of see what the pressure is doing. But anyway, up here at the top, this is the age of the moon, so it's 21.8 days old in its cycle, and then when you go to the tide chart, what this does is it tells you at what date and time the tide will be at the condition. And what I found is each bar is roughly about a 2-hour window in time. So you can kind of see, if you want to say, okay, on 11/26, when is it going to be high tide? Actually, I'm just scrolling through the dates. So I'm going back in time. 11/24, you can see the dates are changing. But let's say that you want to go and say, okay, on 11/28 at 6 p.m., what's the tide going to be? And for my location, it looks like the tide is going to be somewhere between high and low, but more towards low tide at 6 p.m. So in addition to looking at the date, you can also look at the time. So we did the compass and the altimeter to change the date, but then you can hit this barometer setting and you can change the time, and you can look at what the tide condition will be at different times. So you can see it kind of moving around there at 2300 hours, so at midnight, and then at 1 a.m. on 11/28, it's going to be right around high tide. So like I say, it's about a 1-hour window. I haven't been able to get precisely at 1 o'clock it's going to be high tide or not. I can't tell you that for sure, but it kind of gives you an idea of when high tide's going to be. Like I say, it's roughly a 2-hour window, hour and a half, 2-hour window or so is what I've found so far with my use of it. Okay, so that's kind of the tide view. So this view right here is where you record different readings. Altimeter readings is what I've been doing so far. So this is my maximum elevation. This is the descent. There's a descent feature where you can record how much your descent is, your ascent, the minimum elevation you've been at, and then again the maximum. And then so that was for recording 1, and then this is for recording 2. And you've got the same sort of situation here where you can record these things, and you do these recordings from the I've done them at least from this altimeter feature here, and I'll show the altimeter feature in just a little bit when we go through it. But that's kind of what that's all about. I'm honestly not totally good at using this yet. I've not used it on a hike or anything like that to be able to fully understand how it works. I've just kind of been playing around with it to see what it does. So this is the alarm. Currently I've got the alarm off. In the middle, you can toggle the alarm on and toggle the alarm off. To adjust it, you hit the adjust button and it'll come up with hold. And then you can change the hour of it. Let's see, let me get it back here. Change the hour. Oops, you hit mode, that's right, okay. You hit mode to get to the minutes, and then you can change the minutes. And with the compass and altimeter like before, that's how you adjust it up and down. Let's say go between hours and minutes, and then hit adjust to set it. Now there's multiple alarms that it has as well. Not totally sure. Let's see how you go through. This is the signal. Okay, so these are the different alarms. That's how you go through the different alarms on the. So it looks like it's got 5 alarms, and then when you start the alarm, this signal. Yeah, I'm not really totally sure exactly what the signal does yet. I've not really played with that feature yet, so I really can't say what that is. But there's the alarm, and that's kind of how it works. It's pretty straightforward. So the stopwatch, as you can imagine, let's see, start, stop, reset, traditional stopwatch. The timer, it times in minute increments, so you won't be able to set the minutes and the seconds. You can only set the minutes from how this thing works. And basically what these bars over here, what these represent is when you get close to the time that it will close to your elapsed time being reached, the timer will progressively start to chime so that you will know that you're getting close to the time that you have set to go off. And then once it goes off, then it'll beep continuously. I think it for like 10 seconds or so, something like that. So it works just like the others. Set and hold it, and you just change the time like that, and then hit the adjust button again to accept it. And then this center feature basically turns on that progressive, I'll just call it the progressive. I don't know what they call it in the manual, but this progressive alarm where as you get up to your time, it starts to chime, so you know you're getting closer. So this is the world time function, and right now I've got it set on Berlin, so you can see what time it is in Berlin. And I had checked it, and it's accurate. It actually allows you, I didn't work on this or set it, but it allows you to also set for daylight savings time in other countries as well. But I just got set on Berlin. And then there's a lot with the compass and the altimeter, just like with the other menus. That's how you kind of scroll through these different areas or different regions, time zones would be more correct, and see what time it is. So I'm assuming that was Cairo, Athens, I don't know what that is, Berlin, Rome, Paris, Madrid, London, etc., Lisbon, Portugal. So anyway, that's kind of how that works. I just have it, set on Berlin, so you can see what time it is in Germany. Now this screen right here is the receive screen. So this is the screen that you would be on if you want to actually do a manual receive of the time. And what this actually tells you is the time that the watch received its last transmission. So you can see here that the last transmission that was received for the time was on 11/19 at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I've never had to manually run the receive function. It does it itself, and it works fantastically. I've not had a single problem with it. Matter of fact, that has gone off without a hitch at all. It actually works really good. So, but this is where you would do the manual receive to receive the time from the atomic clock if you so desire. And then that takes you back to the home screen. Now, when you're in the home screen, you can hit the adjust menu or hit the adjust button, and just one time, and it'll take you to the tide graph. So you can kind of toggle between the date and the tide graph. So it looks like that right now we are, coming out of low tide probably, for my region. And you can see, if you look closely there too, you can see that there's another kind of a line lower inside those digital bars there. And what that indicates, because it's black up to the higher bar, that indicates that it was a higher low tide than normal. So if it was at the bottom of that curve right down here, it would be a lower tide. But it's just so and it also does this too on the upside. So if it's a higher tide than normal, it'll also show you that as well, if it's going to be a higher tide than normal. But it looks like this was a higher low tide than what we would normally have, for a low tide in our area. So I'll adjust this back, and as you can see here on the side, I'll point this out too. The pressure where I'm at, I'm inside the house, but the pressure just looks like it's trending up a little bit. All right, so I'll toggle it back to the date screen there. All right, so if I hit the compass button, this engages the compass, and you can see that right now it's facing east southeast, the face of the watch when you face it north. Okay, and I haven't used the compass function a tremendous amount yet, and I haven't set it up and made sure that it's correct, because there are some corrections that you can put in here. But that is one feature that's pretty neat on the watch that it has, and I'll try to use it and set it up with a compass as well, and give you guys some feedback on how it works and how I like it. Now the barometer feature here. On the barometer feature, there's some things that you can do to set it up as well. The temperature units, the pressure units, you can set those. But what I found with the barometer, I haven't checked the actual pressure against a known good source. But I know that this temperature right here is not accurate. And the reason why I haven't tested it to make sure that it is perfectly accurate. I think you can also, set your temperature offset, relative to a known good temperature source, but it is influenced by you wearing it. So if you want to get a really good air temperature reading using the watch, you are probably going to be better off to have the watch, say hanging on your backpack, or, just away from your body, so it doesn't have the influence of the heat from your body. So I've found that's the reason why the temperature gauge is off and tends to give me a higher reading than what the actual temperature is. So you can see the pressure is 29.85 millimeters of mercury. Now over here, you can see there's a line right there. Okay, so this line helps you to understand what the pressure is doing. Because this is a measurement in time, but this right here is more of a continuous measurement. And so what this shows, so it goes from plus 10 to minus 10, and what it shows you is what the pressure is doing right now. So basically what it's showing is that with 0, the pressure is kind of holding steady relative to the last reading. If it would go down here, then it would be falling relative to the last reading, or if it's up here, then it's rising relative to the last reading. So that's kind of how you interpret the that line and use this part of the watch here. Okay, now the altimeter function, go to it, and you can set it for feet, you can set it for meters, and you set it up in 20, I think it's in 20-foot increments is how you set it up. And from what I've read and what I understand the manual is that it actually uses the barometric pressure in order to estimate, using conversion tables, where you are in terms of your altimeter, your elevation above sea level. So you can put a correction factor into here, and I actually did this for my location, and I found that this altimeter reading, the feet reading, based off the little bit of testing that I've done, is not incredibly accurate. I guess it's because it's based off of a pressure reading, and it's not based off of GPS, perhaps. But in the little bit of testing that I've done, I've found the altimeter is not it's not incredibly accurate so far, at least. Okay. So I would take another reading. Yeah. So that's kind of that. That's kind of the way that works. So those are the functions of the watch, and my first impressions. Well, not my first impressions, but my impressions after using it for 2 months. Like I say, I'll continue to use it and try out some more of these features, the compass feature, the altimeter, and the barometer feature some more, and try to find some known calibrated sources for some of these things, the barometer and the compass, and check those things out and try to see and understand how accurate they are and give you guys some more feedback on that. So, all right. So this has been Jake with the DIA guys. Hope you liked the video. Hope it was helpful to you. Gave you some good information about this watch in case you have interest in getting one of them. And please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.